Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today I want to start the reading vlog for Blacktop Wasteland by S.A. Cosby. This is going to be the next audiobook I will start and I'm very excited about it. Do I know what this book is about? No. I really like going into books blind. Like, I put them on my wish list and forget why in a second, which sometimes is an issue as well, but I'm very excited to give this one a try. So I think this is kind of like a literary fiction mystery kind of book. I have been meaning to try S.A. Cosby's books for a long time, so it is finally happening. The way these vlogs work is that I will always update you after reading about 25%, and so I will update you after the first quarter, when I'm halfway through, after the third quarter, and then when I have finished the book. This will be spoiler free. However, I might talk about some spoilers right at the end, but I will definitely warn you about that. So if you do not want to be spoiled, you can just leave the video early. But for these first updates, I won't spoil anything. I have already done one of these vlogs this year, which was for The Good House by Tananarive. This was very successful because I really liked the book, and I encourage you to check that one out as well. And these are a series of 5 authors I set myself to try in each year. So this is the second one for 2025. I hope this one goes really well too, and we will find out in this video together. So I'm currently about a quarter of the way, a little bit more than a quarter of the way into my audiobook Blacktop Wasteland, and I wanted to give you a quick update. I am really enjoying this book, but before we get into that, I quickly want to let you know what this book is actually about, because I haven't really talked about that a lot yet. So in this book, we mainly follow a character called Beauregard, and he previously in his life has been a kind of getaway car driver, and his father has done that as well. They have this very fancy car that he inherited from his father, and the father just one day kind of disappeared. He went to go on a job and he just never returned. So our main character has kind of taken up that kind of legacy from his father, but then he got out and now he has a family. He has one daughter who's already graduating high school, and then he has kind of a new wife and 2 sons that are still small children. And when we meet him, he is in kind of a financial struggle because his children need glasses and braces, and he has a motor shop. So he's trying to be independent in his career, and unfortunately a lot of the people are still quite racist and they prefer the other shop that is run by white people, I suppose. So his business isn't doing super well, and so he's just struggling a lot. Also, his mother is in a care facility for elderly people, and there has been some issues with that as well, where he's now trying to pay off his mother's debt to that facility. So he's definitely struggling, and that is what you get introduced to in the first 25%. We really get really close to this character, figuring out how his life is going and what his struggles are, and we just get a very good setup of this character, which I absolutely love, because I do like a fast-paced book where everything is really exciting, but as a character-driven reader, I still want to know these people deep down, what is their motivations, why are they doing what they're doing. So I think setting this character up so well in these first 25% is extremely important for me to love this book. Now, before we get all of that set up, we do have a first chapter that is about an illegal car race. And that first chapter was just such a banger. Like, I read this first chapter and I was hooked, I was sold. I was like, I will love this book. Now, what you need to know about me is that I do love fast cars. Like, I know this is such a like cliche thing, and maybe like if you're like a left-wing green person like I am, that's like a really weird thing to say, that you just love like big fast cars. But I do, and I know they're bad for the environment and everything, but I still really like them. So all that just to say that for me, reading about this like car race, and also like how our main character is like so into cars and he knows so much about them, and he can hear from like the noises that the engine makes, like what the problems with the cars are and stuff like that. Like, it's so fascinating to me and I eat that up. If you don't like fast cars, maybe that's the most boring shit to you, but I like it, so I'm just saying that. Now, this first chapter almost read like kind of like Black John Wick, I would say. It definitely has like its very violent moments, but I was eating it up. I was there for it. I felt like already such a connection to this main character that I was like, hey, you are not gonna get screwed over by these random people. You show them who's boss. So it is violent, it has fast cars. I think that not all people will absolutely love this, but for me, so far it's really, really good. And I think like just having this like really great first chapter where you're like extremely hooked and it's just like so intense, and then building up this character, really showing you who Beauregard is just fantastic. And so far, I'm really, really loving it. Now, the thing is that because he has these financial struggles, he now gets pulled back into the kind of legal realm of things. And so I think the next 25% of this book will include much more of this like planning of the heist situation. So for the first quarter, really getting to know this character, his circumstances and all of that. Now, I think the second part of this would be much more like this like traditional like stake out what they want to do and stuff. Now, for the heist bit, I have to say that there is a character who is kind of like proposing the heist. This character is called Ronnie, and honestly, like, he seems so dumb. And like, Beauregard is so smart and he's so serious about all of these things. And he's like, we're gonna have like guns that can't be tracked to us. We're gonna have like burner phones. We're not gonna use the same phones twice, all of that shit. And then you get these like short chapters with like Ronnie, and you see that he's so dumb. He's just so dumb. And so, yeah, you already have this element of like, this is all going to go to hell. This cannot go well just because of like how dumb Ronnie is. So we'll see about that, but it definitely builds a lot of tension with that already. So I will be back after reading the next quarter of the book. So I'm now 50% into my audiobook Blacktop Wasteland, and it is time for the second update. I'm struggling a little bit with allergies right now, so I hope there will be no like weird sniffling in this update. And I also want to try to keep it a little bit short. Now, here I was telling you about how I thought that in this second quarter we would dive into the planning of the heist, and we do kind of, but then like it already happened. Like, this is not a spoiler, but like the thing they were planning has happened now. And so, yeah, I was like taken aback by the kind of speed, by the pace of this book. Like, I did not expect us to get here so quickly. So by the 50% mark, we are already way ahead into the aftermath of everything. And stuff is getting really tense. Like, I don't want to spoil anything, but there is like multiple things going on right now that are not exactly legal. And because you know this main character so well, you just really feel for him and you want him to succeed. You can really see that he in his like core is a good man. However, there is like a lot of stuff like going on, and it's like not going his way necessarily. So I'm definitely still intrigued. I definitely still think that this book is just very tense. It like really grips you, and I just like the whole like scene where they do the thing. It was so tense. Like it was right before I went to bed, and I was like just lying in my bed listening to it, being like, this is not the best thing to read before you want to go to sleep, because like I was so wound up and like scared for the character, while you can see that the other characters around him are like really not very smart and also very shady. So yeah, there's some characters you really care for, and then there's some others where you're just like, yeah, that's gonna be the downfall, let's be real. So wow, yeah, there was one moment, I can't really talk about it, but there is this one thing our main character does that just really shows his goodness, like the goodness of his heart, where he helps someone out. And then after the heist, we find out something that was heartbreaking in that context, like absolutely heartbreaking. The feels are there, the tension is there. I think that's all I'm gonna say, because like really, what can you say about a book like this without spoiling anything? I think I'm just gonna be back after the next quarter. Right now, not quite sure where that's gonna go, but it's probably not gonna be a good place. Okay, I'm now 75% into Blacktop Wasteland. I'm gonna give you a quick update. However, I don't think there's really that much I can say without spoiling anything, so let's keep this one short and sweet. Something you might consider like a tiny bit of a spoiler, but I like can't talk about it at all if I don't mention it. We are now in kind of a second heist situation. So because of what went down with the first one, now our main character is kind of forced into a situation where they have to do something again. However, the stakes are higher, the driving is even madder, and yeah, like this is like adrenaline pumping kind of stuff. So I think if you like action movies with fast cars, you really have to read this book. The way that it is written is so good. Like I've never read a book with like such like car heist scenes before, but I can picture everything in my mind, and I really like that this book doesn't really dive into a lot of the planning. So when stuff actually happens, you're just like there and you're just like going with it, and you're just like, okay, let's see how this is going to go down, like what the plan is, no idea. So if you enjoy the like getting the crew together, planning the heist side of things, then I think this might be a little bit of a disappointment. But if you like the like heart pumping, like adrenaline part of like watching the heist actually going down, then this book is for you. And I'm really going with it. I'm having a great time. I think it is so good. Like at times, especially when I listen to it right before bed, I'm like, I don't want to turn this off now, because like we're in the middle of something here, and if I don't know how it ends, I won't be able to sleep. So yeah, it's going really well. I'm having a lot of fun. I think that this book has the perfect balance of building up the characters and still giving you all the action and all the like tense thrill that you're looking for. And yeah, it's just really, really good. I am intrigued to see how everything will go down now. As I said, we're kind of in the middle of a scene right now. So yeah, intrigued to see how that chapter will end, intrigued to see how the book will end. And I'll definitely check back in with you when I have reached that point. So yesterday I finished reading Blacktop Wasteland, and I'm gonna be so real with you guys right now. I have to leave my house in 4 minutes because I have to catch a train, and I wanna edit and upload this video tomorrow. So we are going to rush this ending of the vlog a little bit, but I'm pretty sure we can do it. So let me first say this book was amazing. I would give it a 4.75 stars. I think the ending didn't quite hit where I wanted it to be to actually become a 5-star, but it was still like one of the best thrillers I've ever read, and I highly recommend you pick it up, especially if you like driving fast cars or like watching and reading stuff about fast cars and stuff like that. As I have mentioned it before, big theme of this book. And I love how this book just explores this idea of criminals and whether we are criminals like in our hearts, in our souls, or whether we can change, whether we can be something else or someone else. And this is a very interesting discussion that is kind of underlying all of the thrillers. This was also my first audiobook I listened to on Libro FM, and I had an amazing experience. So this was not sponsored at all. I just decided to try this service out because I want to get away from giving Jeff Bezos my money, and I highly recommend you do that as well. I have my referral link down below if you want to give me a credit by signing up. So yeah, overall an amazing experience. And one last thing I wanted to mention for this ending is that at the end of the audiobook, there was actually a 10-minute-ish interview with the author, which I really liked. It was really great to hear S.A. Cosby talk about why he chose to do certain things with this book. And he seems like a great guy, at least from those like 10 minutes. So I really appreciated that being at the end of the book as well. So overall, I would say go out and read it. You probably won't regret it. Like, it was so tense, so good, so action-packed, but had like this deeper meaning and those deeper themes. So I really liked it. Now the cat is here and I'm scared she's going to destroy my laptop and the microphone. So we'll see about that. I have about 1.5 minutes left for a little spoilery part. So maybe I will try to record that like later because I don't want to rush that. So we'll do a little switchery doodle, and hopefully when I get back and I still look somewhat presentable, we can talk about some spoilers as well. But for everyone who hasn't read the book and doesn't want to be spoiled, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave a like or a nice comment. That really helps me out. I really hope you want to pick this book up now because it's so good. And for everyone else, I'll talk to you in a second about spoilers. Okay, so let's get into the spoilery bits. I think the thing I loved most about this book obviously is the like high intensity and the high pace of the story. And I think the way that this is achieved is very genius because you always have these like steps building upon each other. When I went into the book, I thought we would just get like a heist story and we would see this like typical like bringing the group together and then planning the heist and then maybe a little bit going wrong, but like, you know, it all being focused on that one heist, and having two in there was a real surprise, and I think it worked really well. So we have that initial heist of the jewelry store where we see already in the build-up that things might go wrong because our characters just don't have all the important information, though obviously it goes terribly wrong. I really thought this inclusion with the man that got shot in the jewelry store was very interesting. I really thought that the potential of that wasn't it had a lot of potential, but it didn't go anywhere. So yeah, I thought that would make more of a conundrum for our main character, something that gets him thinking about what he did more and like why he did it and whether that was really the correct way. Obviously he thinks a lot about that in general, but not specifically to this little fun fact. And I think this was one of the like most shocking moments of the story when you find out who he is, that he was the man that he saw on the highway with the pregnant woman in the car, and they ultimately named their son after Beauregard's father. And then he gets shot in this thing. Like, this is, you know what I mean? Like, there was so much potential to do a little bit of a deep dive into that, and then it was just not used. in a proper way, I think. So we have that going terribly wrong, and then obviously we see, oh, now the like real villain emerges with Lazy, and then we get to the bit where we have the second heist, and this one just is so much more high stakes. Like, already the like car chase after the first heist, I think, was so intense. Like, that was right when I went to bed, and I had a hard time falling asleep. Like, I was like, I need to listen to the end of this chapter because no way am I going to sleep in the middle of this. Then we have this second heist, and the stakes are so much higher because obviously Lazy is threatening everyone. And again, we see it kind of going well up until the moment that Ronnie gets involved. And really, like, this little piece of shit, like, Ronnie definitely gets what he deserves, and it's just so interesting because like the whole setup of Ronnie as a character is that he is good for nothing, and it's just like the pure desperation of Beauregard that even gets him to do something with Ronnie again. And there is this one moment in the book where Beauregard is like thinking about, should I really do this? Like, he's talking about kind of like calculating the like risk and the reward, and he's like, yeah, but like these diamonds, they win out with the reward. And I was like, already in that moment I was like, yeah, but like usually high reward comes with like high risks, and he didn't really consider all the risks. Like, he considered Ronnie as just being dumb as a risk, but similar to the whole like horse situation, it's much worse than he thought. And that was just such an interesting moment. And again, it would have been nice to get a little bit more of a callback to that moment in the aftermath of what is going down. So like ultimately Ronnie betrays them all. He shoots the cousin of Beauregard. That was a situation where I was just like so confused, because honestly I thought it would be Lazy's people, because this whole time they have this guy with them in the back of the truck, and he has his phone. And I was like, if Lazy is smart, which, no, it's not Lazy, it's the other guy, sorry, Shade, whatever, the other, like the guy they're stealing from for Lazy, like this guy, if he's smart, he has some kind of a tracker on the phones of his people so that they don't run away with his stuff. And so I thought, in the moment where we have the gunshot and we see the cousin die and stuff, I thought that they caught up to them because they were tracking the phone of the guy they kind of took hostage. No, it was Ronnie. It was Ronnie all along, that little motherfucker. So, yeah. I think like this book just like really held up the like adrenaline level throughout because of the staggering of the stakes of these heists. What I also really liked about that, and I think it also helped with it like being like really intense the whole way through, is that we never really saw a lot of the planning. So where usually we would have like in heist stories a planning phase where we see like characters like discussing like who's taking which spot and stuff like that. In this one, we really focus on the actual happenings, so we don't see a lot of the planning. We see like some kind of like little part of the planning, so it isn't like completely out of the blue what they're doing, but the planning really isn't an important part of the story. And so we see what's going down, and we don't always know what they're planning. So for example, in the end, the bomb that Beauregard built, we have no idea about that. So the moment he's like, I'm gonna take this phone down, I'm gonna trigger something, I was like, oh, shock. So yeah, I think that worked really well too, that we didn't know too much about the individual plans beforehand. This one also deals a lot with the question of, are you a criminal, or are you like, can you have like multitudes? And so Beauregard always goes with this sentence of like, a man can't be two beasts at once. And this is a question that he really struggles with throughout this book. So he has been trying to be two beasts, to be a father, a husband, and like a legal person, and then a criminal at the side. And so I think that this discussion was very interesting. ultimately, I did not quite like where it ended up, because in the end, he's basically about to do the same thing his father did. And obviously, you can be like, yeah, kind of like a realistic pessimist, I guess, and say like that is very probable that you'll do the same mistakes your parents made. But I was really hoping that this would change. Now, the ending is a tiny little bit open with that. Like, we don't see him actually leaving. But still, like, I wanted him to, like, come to a different conclusion, to say, like, he's going to do things differently from his father. And I thought it was a little bit sad that with all of his struggles about that, that's where he landed on. And in that regard, I really liked his wife and the way she responded to that. Like, that was amazing, and I love her, and she's a great character in general. I think throughout the book, I really felt for her. I think that Beauregard kind of takes a lot of her agency away from her with his decisions by just like shutting her out, not letting her participate. And in that regard, he like completely ignores that this is her family as well, and these are her struggles as well. And I think she always tries to get back in. She's always trying to be like, hey, talk to me, like this is ours. And when shit goes down and ultimately the little boy gets shot and stuff like this, that's the moment when she's like, hey, this is your shit, like this is what you brought to our door. And I just really liked that she wasn't like a doormat character. She did not let him like walk all over her, but also she tried to give him chances that he messed up. So I think between the like really good heist storylines and this like family dynamic and the question of like, can you really change who you are? Do you have to step into the footsteps of the people who came before you and stuff like that? I think it just makes such a compelling story. And even though I didn't like love the ending enough for it to be a 5-star read, I still think it is such a good book, and I would highly recommend you read it if you haven't already. And with that, I'm just gonna go. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.